It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Sproles, end zone, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in to another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press. We do understand that there are some technical issues going on with our signal on the FM dial. So for those of you listening on the AM, thanks for hanging with us on 1390. I'm unaware if our online stream is up or not, but that had some issues earlier in the day as well. But we're still doing a show, and we will make it available on podcast. So go back and listen to it, even if you had struggles listening to it while we're doing it live. But last hour, on really short notice, but I really appreciate the insight and the experience and the memories. But USU head trainer Mike Williams jumped on and joined us. Talk about the incident that happened at Utah State 10 years ago when Danny Berger collapsed. He had a cardiac event in practice, and Mike jumped in, performed CPR. An AED was nearby, and they were able to shock his heart and get it going again, and transported to Logan Regional, and then he was flown down to Murray. But eventually he was able to make a recovery and rejoin his teammates and be on the squad the following season, and then eventually even went on to play internationally for a little bit. But we don't know if that's going to be the same situation for DeMar Hamlin or not, as he is still in intensive care. The reports today seem to indicate that he is making positive progress, but we still don't know the extent of damage or the extent of how he is affected by his incident on the field on Monday night in Cincinnati. And now also we're trying to figure out the NFL and the Buffalo Bills and, well, frankly, the New England Patriots, too, when their next game will happen, or if it will happen, because the Bills are scheduled to host New England on Sunday, I believe Sunday at 1 o'clock. So that game could be postponed, could be moved a day or two, just to give the team a little bit more time to wrap their brains around what's happening right now with their teammate and moving forward. So I at least appreciate the NFL discussing that there is an option about delaying the situation rather than just being cold and saying, you got a game on Sunday at 1 o'clock, and we expect you to be there.
There are some people that were on Twitter saying, let's keep playing the game, like that night. And there's some controversy about whether or not the NFL thought they should keep playing. There's accusations being thrown back and forth of people lying and whatnot, but there are people on Twitter said that they were just like, hey, let's keep playing the game. Why not? Somebody might have just died, but just keep playing the game.
Heartless.
These guys aren't human.
No.
Just keep playing. Then they call everyone else soft. It's like, okay. Sure thing.
So if you missed our conversation with Mike Williams, we are going to make that available on our podcast feed. Certainly the full hour will be available, but we're also going to just isolate that interview in and of itself to make that available on 1069thefan.com or anywhere you subscribe to our podcasts. You can hear that specific interview that we had with him. But really interesting insight and perspective of being there, and all the, as you said earlier, all the things that had to go right or be available for Danny was lined up, and he had a quick response, which really assisted in his ability to make a full recovery and rejoin his teammates and play Division I college basketball, which is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, went back, played 28 games this season. It's like, dang. How? Full, and also went and played professionally. So it's not like, oh yeah, now I can, I recovered. Now I can just play basketball, pickup. It's like, dude's playing full on Division I and professional basketball with the little device in his chest, the mini defibrillator type, automatic, jump start his heart if it stops again. So yeah, pretty interesting. I know for me as a person, Mike was saying he wasn't really that nervous about watching Danny go back out into the court, but for me, I was like, okay, this dude nearly died. We sure he should be out there, but he's fine. He's living his life to the fullest now.
Yeah, pretty incredible story. And then another thing happening today with Utah State athletics and basketball, USU announcing today that J.C. Carroll, number 20, his jersey, will be hung in the rafters, and it will take place on the game with Nevada coming to town on February 18th. And to be clear, his jersey will be retired, but the number will not be.
Yeah, there's 2 retired numbers. I don't think they'll ever retire a number again. Yeah, of course, JC's about as close as you might want to get to retiring a number again. Because you have Bert Cook, whose number was retired. Actually, I think his number was retired while he was still playing, if I read the history right that I was looking up. I'm gonna be digging into it a little bit more. I'll basically have a written history about all the guys that have had their names or jerseys retired. But Bert Cook and Wayne Estes. Wayne Estes obviously a lot of reasons why he had his number retired. Probably the biggest name in program history, but probably the second biggest name in program history at this point is probably J.C. Carroll. Obviously not the only one. And so for me, I said this on Twitter, it's like this is always a matter of when, not if. He's going to have his jersey retired. It's just when is it going to happen? And the answer is February 18th.
And I like that it's happening against Nevada because that was a team that he competed against when USU was in the WAC. And there were some great battles between Utah State and Nevada back then. So rather than doing it against a quote unquote newer conference opponent that's in the Mountain West, just there's history between Utah State and Nevada with J.C. Carroll on the court.
Wonder if they asked him, is there a game you want to do? And he's Nevada.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of input he may have had on choosing the game, but certainly those events you got to line up. Family needs to be able to be there and availability for himself. So a really cool situation. Applaud Utah State for doing this. Absolutely deserving. And he was an outstanding player. We've had the opportunity to speak with him a couple of times since he retired professionally and has moved back to Cache Valley. He's been attending Utah State games when he can and trying to be a positive presence in the community and for Utah State as well. So really cool to see J.C. Carroll back in the mix after a tremendous career at Utah State, followed by a tremendous career professionally overseas, and won multiple championships internationally. But this is about what he did while wearing the blue and white for Utah State, and absolutely deserving. Excited to see this happen, and excited for J.C. Carroll. And for folks who may not have seen him in person, they will see that jersey in the rafters, and they'll do some research and see what kind of a special player he really was.
See, I'm one of those people that never saw him play in person. Obviously, I was a very young man when he was playing at Utah State. So, unfortunately, I've never seen him play in person. Don't think I ever watched him on TV either. I've watched highlights, but because his playing career is obviously still going for a good chunk of my life, but. Yeah, it'll be something to look back on. It'll be nice to celebrate, his time as one of the best shooters, probably the best shooter in program. And there's one person who's made the argument that J.C. Carroll is the best three-point shooter, at least in the 21st century, if not all time, at least in the college ranks.
Yeah, and, it makes me wonder if who else should get their jersey retired, if there should be others that haven't had that option that perhaps should. Would Sam Merrill be considered in the same stratosphere as JC? Would he have his jersey retired someday? And I would argue that we should have that discussion. I think that Sam got the team to multiple NCAA tournaments. So he got the team to multiple Mountain West Conference championships, and is certainly up there among the greats for Utah State in its rich basketball history.
Yeah, I think him, and I think there's a couple other guys I think from the Stu Morrill era that maybe get thrown in that conversation. I think Ty Wesley's name has been thrown around a little bit. There's kind of a lot of the guys that are they were really good, but maybe they're not quite all-time greats. You know, Sam Merrill, I think, what is he, he's number 2 in all-time scoring, isn't he? I believe at Utah State. I think
Ty Wesley?
No, Sam Merrill, excuse me.
Oh, Sam Merrill. I think he is just behind. JC's number 1, and I think Sam's number 2.
Yeah, and pretty much everybody else in the top 5 or 6, I think, have their jersey retired, because I think it's it's Carroll and guys like I think either Greg Grant or Cornell Green or both, and obviously Wayne Estes are up there. So it's this is a dude who scored the second most points ever, and so you probably have that conversation down the line. When to retire a jersey can be difficult. I don't know if J.C. Carroll playing in Europe affected that, because maybe he wouldn't have been able to come back and actually attend his own ceremony. I don't know if it was just scheduling conflict that always kept him, because, like I said, it was always a matter of when. You knew it was going to happen. Maybe it just took this long to finally manage to get everything together to have this kind of ceremony and celebration of Carroll's career. And maybe Sam will be the same way, because he looks like he's eventually going to end up playing in Europe. His time in the NBA seems to be a bit numbered. I think he's in the G League right now.
Yes.
But he may end up deciding to go maybe play in Europe and have a professional career there, the way that J.C. Carroll did, and the way that some other Aggie greats have done.
Yeah. So, just to reiterate again, it'll take place February 18th when Utah State hosts Nevada. That should be a special night, and see who else is in attendance. Will Stu Morrill be there? I don't know. Will other former Aggie basketball players be there who played with him or alongside him? It'll be an exciting night for the Carroll family and for Aggie Nation. So excited to see this happen. This is well deserved, and you're totally right. It wasn't a matter of if; it was just a matter of when. And now we know the date.
Yeah, there we go. It'll be a fun night. I'll be there.
Yes,
guaranteed.
Yes,
it's my job. I'm there at every home game.
Speaking of Aggie basketball, last night Utah State going to Air Force, picking up a victory against the Falcons, 77-65, but doing it in a way that without scoring a bucket, at least a field goal, I should clarify, without scoring a field goal in the last 8.5 minutes, and still winning by double digits. Was it what Air Force was doing defensively, or the Aggies just not able to really hit their shots?
I think some of it was, in the first half, a lot of shots that maybe shouldn't have gone in kind of did. They had a lot of shots in the paint. They were attacking the rim a lot. This is a team that, some people may think this is a live and die by the three kind of team. They're not. They know what the most important shot in the game is, and that's a layup. And they took that shot over and over and over again in the first half. 20 of their 30 shots in the first half were inside the paint. And 15 or 16 of those were layup or dunk attempts. So this team they know which side of their bread is buttered on. They like layups more than they like threes. And against a team that's starting lineup is the tallest guy in the Air Force starting lineup is 6'5", they wanted to get layups. But in the second half, and Odom kind of talked about this with in the post-game press conference, some of their shots became a little more erratic. And some of that may have been from Air Force, but I think some of that just was Utah State trying to push it a little bit. And they'd take, some shots that were still in the paint, but they were more non-restricted area paints, not layups or really close hook shots, but a little further away, closer to the free throw line. And sure, those count as paint attempts, but they're not very efficient shots. A lot of times those shots can be less efficient than mid-range jumpers. You'll be shooting in the high 30s% from that range, because they tend to be difficult shots and closely contested. So the Aggies were taking not very good shots for a decent portion of the second half. They took enough good shots and they made some, at least early in the first half, to kind of keep up with Air Force's run. But yeah, for a lot of those shots, they were just not quality looks that, sure, they can make them at times. But if you're living on a diet of those, then every now and again you're going to go 9 minutes without making a bucket. And then some of them were just unlucky. Some of them went in and out.
Yeah, so this is an Aggie team that will have to turn around and figure out a few things when they go on the road against Boise State. Now, that's an early afternoon game, 4:30. It'll be on FS1, the first of 3 games in a row for the Aggies. It'll be on FS1. But that'll be a tough test at Boise State, who struggled early in the season but have kind of come into their own. And Shaver hit a last-second shot, 3 seconds on the clock, for Boise State to beat San Jose State last night in conference play. So it was a dramatic finish for them, and they're playing some pretty good basketball. Boise State is.
Yeah, there was a time where I thought Boise State was probably definitively the most underrated team in the Mountain West. They were playing quality basketball up there with the likes of the Utah State, San Diego States, and UNLVs, and New Mexico's, but they weren't getting quite as much recognition for it. They did fall off a little bit with the back-to-back losses to Santa Clara and Nevada. They slide by San Jose State at home. This is a quality basketball team. You're gonna have to watch out for them. Obviously, going on the road, we've talked about it already. It's difficult to get a road win here in the Mountain West, especially given how tough this conference is, top to bottom. Every game at this point is one you can lose easily. It's a game that you can lose by double digits if you're not careful. So the Aggies got to go in there and they got to play really well if they want to come away with the win here, because they've struggled even more on the road against Boise State than they have against Air Force.
Yeah, so, it was still a low-scoring affair, 67-64 for that Boise State win. Utah State puts up 77 on Air Force on the road. But as we've talked about, it can be tough to win on the road in this conference, because the other road game last night was Fresno State hosting number 21 New Mexico, and the Bulldogs win that one 71-67, handing New Mexico their first loss of the season, and they were the last undefeated team in America.
Yeah, and Fresno State had a losing record, still has a losing record, and they beat the 21st ranked team in the country that was the only undefeated team left in the country. Like, seriously, it is tough. Boise State, they go on the road to Nevada, where Nevada isn't like, well, actually they're 12-3, so I guess this is very understandable why they lost there, but still, like, every game is going to be a battle here. Like, it's not the non-conference slate where there's a few games where it's like, okay, this one feels pretty comfortable, like it's going to be Utah State win. There's not a single game on this conference schedule I feel comfortable about.
No. Even the teams that are low in the net, they can be tough. Air Force has been improving a lot. San Jose is a lot better this year than they've been. Even though Wyoming is low in the net rankings, they're starting to get guys back, and that's a dangerous team if they get healthy. So there's really nobody that you can just overlook and think that it's an automatic win, especially when you go on the road.
Yeah, I think home against Air Force is the only game where I'm like, yeah, it's probably going to be the win. But knowing Utah State now, that's going to be the game they lose, because they also lost at home to Weber State. But yeah, road against Air Force is like, okay, well, they could lose this game. Road against anybody in the Mountain West, I'm probably going to be pessimistic and say, yeah, they're probably going to lose this game, just because it's so hard. And you get a pleasant surprise. Oh, yeah, we remember, Utah State's good, so they can win on the road. And they'll probably do it several times. But we'll see this team take a couple of big lumps when they go play some tough teams in this Mountain West Conference.
Tonight in the Mountain West, a later game, 8:30 tip-off on FS1. It's Colorado State at Nevada. Nevada favored by 4 in this one. CSU, and one of those teams kind of struggling through parts of the season, but part of it's because of injury to key players, and some of those guys starting to come back. But interesting to see how that plays out on FS1 tonight. Got to take another time out here in the Full Court Press. Love to continue talking about Utah State. Utah Jazz were also in action last night. We'll talk about the Jazz and their game against the Kings. How much more can the Jazz go through of clutch games that get away from them before they just start to fold up their tent? But they're staying in there. They're staying competitive. But how much more can they take of that before they either break through or just kind of break apart? So we'll discuss that coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Advanced Heating and AC, the two-time gold medal winner in Best in Northern Utah. They're teaming up with Carrier Heating and Cooling. Carrier provides you the best furnace units available, and now's the best time to buy a new unit before the weather turns Cache Valley cold. Financing options are available. Turn to the experts at Advanced Heating and Carrier. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, 752-7272, or stop by their showroom west of DI and online at advancedheating-ac.com.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
This is Zach with HSA Depot. Christmas is nearly here. Make sure you be merry and bright by using your pre-tax funds on your medical needs. We know your regular holiday budget is disappearing quick, so instead, save money by using your pre-tax income to buy qualifying medical supplies. HSA Depot carries hundreds of unique and dashing eligible products to help you conquer your healthcare. Come to HSA Depot next to Sally Beauty Supply and see how much you can save this holiday season. HSA Depot, 5-star review.
Own a small business or a farm? You thought about solar? Listen up. A new USDA grant was announced allocating $300 million for farmers and small business owners to put in solar. That's right. The government will help you get solar installed, covering 40% of the cost. And don't forget, as a business, you can save up to 50 or 60% more with federal and state tax credits. Second Sun Solar will install your system and help with the USDA paperwork. Call Second Sun Solar today at 435-363-9917 or online at utahsolardirect.com.
Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press. I know, Jason, you got a ball game you're going to be doing tonight. So
Yep. Gonna dip out a little early. I'll be here for about 90% of the show still. So,
we didn't get a chance to talk stat and player yesterday. I don't know if you still have your stat and your player.
I have them where I can access them pretty quickly.
I'll need to go back and find my stat. I can find it pretty quickly. But before we talk about the Jazz, should we do that real quick? Our stat and our player?
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll skip the fancy music. We'll just get right to it so we can move on because we're a day late on it. But for me, let's do the stat first.
All right.
So this is courtesy of StatMuse. But looking at the impact of, or lack thereof, I should say, of Ben Simmons. He has not made a free throw in over 12 games. This was as of yesterday. And the Nets are undefeated in that stretch. The Nets are 1-6 when Simmons makes a free throw. They're 17-3 when he doesn't make a free throw.
That's amazing.
And they've been one of the hottest teams in the NBA over this last little stretch. And part of that is because Ben Simmons is not taking free throws.
I'm here for all the Ben Simmons slander.
He is not really a part of what's going on with them and their great play right now. Because Brooklyn has won 10 in a row. Actually, they've won 12 in a row. And they've rocketed up to one of the top teams in the NBA. They're essentially a half a game behind Boston for the top team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, which is a little unfortunate for Utah's draft prospects. But granted, if either the Nets or 76ers did well, then it doesn't matter. The 76ers are still doing pretty well. So
right. Sixers are in the 5th spot. Brooklyn's in the 2nd. Minnesota, they're out of the playoffs as of right now.
Yeah, that one's looking really great.
Yeah.
That one's looking amazing. And Rudy Gobert's taking a lot of heat now, too.
Yeah, and I guess there's some controversy with D'Angelo Russell is unfollowing the Timberwolves on social media.
That's the lamest thing ever whenever that happens. Like, so-and-so unfollowed the team they played for. It's like, are you a child?
And he's like cryptically like retweeting and quote tweeting other players. Bet on yourself. And
like, it is the most childish thing to do. And they know exactly what they're doing. It's like when Kyler Murray acted like a complete child and just took all the Cardinals stuff off his Instagram. But then he got it back in karma 1,000 times more when everyone found out about that, got a study game film in his contract.
Right.
Which he so deserved that.
Yes. So anyway, the Ben Simmons stat, that one definitely blew my mind.
There you go. My stat has to do with Donovan Mitchell. A lot of people may have seen this already, but he scored or assisted on 99 points in that game where he had like the 71 points and like 10 or 11 assists. And it's the second most ever in terms of points and points plus assists, points by assists. The only game that it's behind, the one, Wilt Chamberlain.
That's incredible.
He had 104. So he had 4 points from assists. He did most of the legwork himself on his 104 points and points by assist. He got like 99% of that. 100 of his 104. Donovan Mitchell only got the 71 out of 99.
That's incredible.
Scrub.
Yeah.
Only 71 points out of the 99. Pretty good game though, I'd say. Pretty good game.
Yeah, very impressive. My player of the week. This was on my list before we had our conversation with Mike Williams, but my player was the trainers and medical professionals and first responders on Monday night who quickly responded to a tragic situation being played out on national television and just jumped in quickly to regain a pulse of DeMar Hamlin and get him stable so they could transport him to a hospital.
You make me feel like a terrible person now.
No.
Because you're like giving people who actually deserve these honors. Like, oh, yeah, these people, they saved a person's life. And obviously, and I was, oh, yeah, I had Lowry marketing again.
Lowry's a good choice.
But he didn't save somebody's life, potentially. He only scored like 31 points and 11 rebounds over the course of like 4 games last week. The scrub. Save somebody's life next time.
Well, and almost a game-winning shot last night.
Yeah, but that wasn't last week.
That was last week.
And that's
actually I just saw this. This actually was earlier today from our friends at StatMuse.
Our friends at StatMuse.
Well, my friends at StatMuse. I don't know them personally, but
I don't like him as much because I followed them when they first came on. Then they had to let Rudy Gobert slander for a while, and so I stopped following. Was like, yeah, go.
Yeah, that's true. They had a lot of anti-Rudy stuff, but they have some interesting stuff about Lowry, comparing what he did last year to what he's doing this year. Last year, he averaged under 15 points a game, about 5.5 rebounds per game, 45% from the field, 36% from three, 87% from the free throw line. This year so far, nearly 24 points per game. That's 23.9. 8.5 rebounds per game, 53% from the field, 42% from three, and still 87% from the free throw line. And they've added that he is one of the odds-on favorites to win Most Improved Player in the NBA.
Oh, he has to be a landslide favorite. The one stat that I looked at, maybe I could have used this stat because it was one I actually tracked down myself. It was, it's a few days old, but I'm pretty sure it still counts, or it's still relevant. Because I don't think Lowry's removed himself from the criteria, but players who have scored at least 25 points per 75 possessions and had a usage rate under 25. Lowry Markkanen's the only player in NBA history to do that so far.
Yeah, he's very efficient. When he gets the ball, when he takes a shot, good chance he's scoring. Last night it was interesting watching him play because I got to go down to that Jazz game. He had 10 points in the first half. He had 10 points in the third quarter. Actually, had 12 in the third quarter. And then he had stretches in the fourth where he would kind of disappear a little bit, but then he still made some big plays down the stretch. Critical free throws when a lot's on the line, and he made all three. And, of course, that incredible shot at the end of the game, just unfortunately just a fraction of a second too late. But it's been really fun watching his development as a player. And we were talking about this on the way home last night from the game. It's frustrating to see what the Jazz are going through right now in their fifth straight loss. And so many of these games have been down to the wire. Really, there's only been a handful of games. You can count on one hand how many times the Jazz this season have been blown out and just flat out outplayed. All of their other losses have been close, or at least games where they were in it and for most of the game. And in this current stretch where they've lost 5 in a row, they've been to the wire. And it's frustrating, but these are guys right now for Utah who a year ago, 95% of this team, none of these guys were playing clutch minutes for their teams. They weren't asked to be in late game situations. Maybe they were on the court, but they weren't asked to be like the guy. But these are guys that are in situations that they're not really familiar with, at least not since their college days. And it's very different doing this in the NBA than when you were in college.
Yeah, Lauri Markkanen's not been the guy since he was Arizona is where he played his college ball at.
Right.
And he's now in his 6th year in the NBA. He's not used to doing this. So it is certainly a big jump for him. And I think the fact they're in a lot of these games shows they're at least a well-motivated team, which, shows pretty well on the coach. They struggle to execute in clutch situations, which some of that's on the players, maybe some of that's on the coach. That's kind of hard to really flesh out and figure out exactly what's going on there. So it's an area of improvement. And some of that is the fact these guys are, as you mentioned, they're not used to being in these situations. Not enough of the key guys are used to being in these situations. Not just offensively, where they're pretty solid offensively, they're just not very good defensively.
Right, and I think that's what has really reared its ugly head in these last couple of games, just not able to get stops when they really matter. There are a few miscommunication issues, some blown assignments last night in the last few minutes of the game, and Fox has a clear lane to go throw down a monster dunk under a minute to go. You can't give that guy that much room to get space and downhill. So this is a team that's still coming together and learning and trying to understand what it means to play critical minutes in late game situations. So the question here is, are they on the threshold of getting this figured out and start to be able to win some of these close games, or they've had so many losses like this? Are we at a point where this team starts to just get frustrated and they don't play as competitively and to start to go downhill from here?
This team's capable of winning these close games because they were doing it early in the year. But I think the frustration at this point may keep them from getting back to that. They get in their own heads about it, and they stop believing the way they were early in the season, where they were rejecting all of the analysis from people like me who said, this team's going to be terrible. And they've defied that already to some degree, but now maybe there's, the aspects of this team that I was worried about, not being great on defense. That was my biggest concern. I thought they're going to be terrible on defense. They'd be good on offense. They've exceeded my expectations on offense, and for a while they were exceeding my expectations on defense. But now this last little bit where they've now fallen below 500, it's exactly what I expect the defense to be. And that's the problem. If you're that bad on defense, it's going to lose you a lot of games. And it has.
Yeah, it has. One of the things that's also kind of perplexing, watching this team, is the use of Rudy Gay. And I'll admit I was a Rudy Gay apologist under Quinn Snyder, and he just until like the last half of last season when we never saw him, and at the start of this year, it looked like these guys, Will Hardy's finally going to let him play, and he's going to get out there and help the team and be the type of guy that we thought he could be, but he really hasn't. In fact, I think he's somewhat regressed. But he played 13 minutes last night, and he grabbed a couple of rebounds. He did have a couple of assists, but his shots were just off, and they were not good. And it had us all wondering, why is this guy even on the court? Why isn't Fontecchio getting minutes or Agbaji getting more minutes? If we're going to just waste time on a player on being on the court, why not give it to a young guy and give him a chance to develop? But he was still +3 off the bench. So the team, what he's doing to help the team in other ways is kind of interesting. Sarah Todd put a big piece together about that with Rudy Gay, why he's still being used even though his shots aren't going in. But it makes me wonder if they're just trying to still showcase him so they can move him.
What are they trying to move him for? A ham sandwich? Like honestly, what are they getting out of him?
I don't know what they could get out of him.
Like
but
a soda machine?
He's getting space and taking up time that younger developing players should be able to get. But I don't think he's going to be easy to move because his contract.
Yeah, he's not moving because you'd have to give up assets to move him, and there's no reason to do that. Just play somebody else. Play Agbaji. If you're going to have a guy out there who's going to make mistakes on one end of the floor, but be inefficient in his minutes, just play the rookie. It's nuts.
Well, and Will Hardy admitted as much last night that Agbaji got 7 minutes, and they were in the middle of the game, not late blowout minutes. He played minutes in the middle of the game, were important stretches, and he admitted as much after the game that they've got to find ways to get him more opportunity.
Yeah.
Because of his size and his length.
Yeah. 4781, he's chiming in on this Rudy Gay conversation. Says, why is Rudy Gay getting minutes? He is such trash. Dude doesn't belong in the NBA anymore. And yeah, Rudy Gay is in his age 36 season. Trying to do the math on how many seasons he's been in the NBA, and it's too many for me to count. Since 2007 or 2006. And 4781 also saying, don't disrespect a ham sandwich like that, Jason. Messed up, bro.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate and frustrating. I mean, he had a lot of looks, good looks, and it's not there. But he really is the only small forward in the lineup, and so he kind of plays an important role on the court for the Jazz. But
he's too slow to play small forward anymore.
He's just not making it work.
He played power forward for years in San Antonio. Did his first year in Utah. Why are you moving him back to the position he's too slow to play anymore? He was working well as a power forward because obviously a bit slower, but he was maybe a bit bulkier and all the wiser too. It helped him play really great defense. He was really good at defense even in his mid-30s. And he's actually kind of still decent in defense, but he's just overall just not good anymore. Play the young guys. It's not going to be all that different. I know coaches love to default more to veteran guys because they're trying to win, and veteran guys, they can be more reliable. But just go with the young guy. Just do it. It's not going to be that bad. Walker Kessler turned out just fine. I know Walker Kessler's probably a lot better than Agbaji, but I'm pretty sure Kessler was taken after Agbaji was.
I think you're right. Well, it gets back to my New Year's resolution. This team needs to decide who they are, who they want to be. Do they want to be a playoff team, or they want to be a development team and go for the draft?
Well, in this case, you can have your cake.
Stuck in the middle right now.
In this case, you can have your cake and eat it too, because you just play Agbaji over Rudy Gay, and you can maybe still make the playoffs. That, or you find out that Agbaji is terrible. Because here's the thing: there's not that many players who are just absolutely royally terrible in their first rookie in their rookie season that end up being good players. So if you play a guy in his rookie year and he's just awful, then that's that. You figured it out. But And obviously, they don't have to be perfect as a rookie. But they're going to show those flashes early on. So play them. Figure out what you got. Like, is it really going to hurt you if you play, Agbaji over Rudy Gay? Your 10th guy? Like, just, it's not that big a deal.
4781 adds, I'd rather watch our young players go through the growing pains of learning versus watching Rudy go through the growing pains of his stomach expanding.
I know what that's like.
All right, more on the Full Court Press. Love to get your texts coming through, 435-339-0321.
We're right in the middle of holiday season. Most of our focus is on family and friends, as it should be. But don't forget your vehicles during the cold winter months. At Valvoline and Oil Change will make it easy on you to get an oil change, have your vehicle's fluids checked, and if needed, check emissions and renew your registration. All while you sit in your warm car. It doesn't get much easier than that. Valvoline and Oil Change, 695 North Main, across from Aggies.
It's that first kiss, that moment in time.
It's that look in her eye when you get the first sign.
We make it personal, when it's real.
Something for everyone. We know how you feel. Jared's fine jewelry. Make it special. Make it Jared's.
Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat is locally owned and operated inside the beautiful new Three Peaks Medical Plaza in North Logan. Expect the most cutting-edge techniques, qualified doctors, and friendly staff to ensure the highest quality patient care. The ENT providers have extensive training to properly treat ear, nose, and throat conditions for adults and children. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat serves all of northern Utah and southern Idaho, accepting most insurance products including SelectMed. Go to CacheValleyENT.com for appointments and details. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, located in North Logan and Providence.
The Doug Gottlieb Show.
Is there a doctor here?
Listen.
Here's the part about the Rams that no one's talking about. Right, the Rams lose Cooper Kupp probably for the season. And it's like, the Rams, F them draft picks, whatever. Like, that's great. Everybody else fills out the rest of the roster with draft picks. They don't have the draft picks. And the draft picks you do have, you got to hit.
The Doug Gottlieb Show.
Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press. Just a reminder, we'll have it up here in just a little bit. Last hour, we had a great conversation with Mike Williams, head USU trainer, who was on the scene when Utah State had its own DeMar Hamlin situation or experience. Danny Berger, in practice, Utah State men's basketball collapsed, had a cardiac event. And Mike Williams was there on the scene, helped revive Danny, and and share his memories of that day and what it was like watching that and experiencing it, and then kind of also in context of what happened on Monday night and what he's observed in that situation on Monday Night Football. So that's going to be loaded on our podcast feed here shortly. So stay tuned for that. Utah State basketball with a nice win at Air Force, and as we're seeing, it's not easy to win on the road in this Mountain West Conference because New Mexico lost when they went on the road at Fresno State, a team Utah State just beat the week previous, a few days ago. But we saw that was not an easy game to get past. Fresno State's slow it down, grind it out kind of a team. Aggies were able to find a way to win. New Mexico, unfortunate for them, were not. So Utah State, one of three teams that remain undefeated in conference play. Utah Jazz were in action last night. They were down most of the game, and they'd get it within 5, and then Sacramento would stretch it to 8 or 9, and then the Jazz would get it to 5, and then Sacramento would stretch it back out again, and then end of the third quarter, Jazz get it about even, and then the fourth was back and forth. Jazz never really got much of a lead, not more than 2 or 3 points, then they're down, kind of like the Miami game. They're down, but all of a sudden in the last few possessions, they make just the right plays to give themselves a chance. And I want to say Simone Fontecchio. That's not the right name at all. Lauri Markkanen attempts a 3 and gets fouled, makes all 3 free throws to tie the game. But kind of like Miami again, they leave a little bit too much time on the clock. Sacramento comes down. Fox makes a shot, bounces around, and goes in. 0.4 seconds to go. They get a shot off at the end, but just too late. And the Jazz have lost 5 in a row, all of them single-possession games.
Yeah, it's just a rough stretch, except for those of us who are in the Tank Note Club.
Yeah.
I don't know, I might have to renew my membership because I got to figure my New Year's resolution needs to be, all right, am I in or out on the tank or not? Because early on I was all in on the tank, and then now it's like, well, I don't know anymore. And now it's like, okay, we're back to the tank because they have a losing record now.
But yeah, the Jazz have lost, 7 of their last 9 games. And they've got a road trip ahead of them. And they're on Thursday, they'll be at Houston. On Saturday, it's Chicago. Sunday at Memphis. They should be able to get a few of those games. Chicago has been struggling. Houston is bad. But Memphis is a solid team. And the return home next Tuesday to host Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And it'll be interesting to note what kind of reception Donovan gets that night.
$5 says Donovan rolls an ankle before the game and misses it. Or he's going to score 85 points against the Jazz. One of the two.
One of the two. So, yeah, it's an interesting stretch here for the Jazz. A mix of teams that they should play well against and should beat, with a mix of some of the top teams in the NBA over the next couple of weeks. So we'll see what happens with the Utah Jazz. 4781 text in. I bet Donovan only scores 13 in that game and then blames it on his ankle that he'd rolled before the game, like Jason said.
He's going to play through that rolling like just a show. I don't know. Joel Embiid kept always skipping the Jazz because he never wanted to play Rudy Gobert. Which is weird because he usually played pretty well against Rudy Gobert. So it's weird that he kept dodging him. So, I don't know.
Also, I missed this one from earlier. Thank goodness the Kings fouled Lowry on that 3. Those free throws made me $15.
Well, dinner's on you.
Yeah, there you go. All right, I need to take another quick timeout here in the Full Court Press before we wrap things up for the hour. 435-339-0321 if you still want to text in.
Old McDarrell has a farm and appliance farm.
With down-home country prices and big city selection.
E-I-E-I-O. When you're looking for a friendly spot to drive a little and save a lot, hey, Old McDarrell has a farm, an appliance farm. Low overhead, but lots of country charm. See Darrell's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
Experts tell us that the 3 areas of balance for proper health are exercise, nutrition, and sleep. This is Ryan, owner of My Mattress, and while My Mattress store can't really help with exercise and nutrition, we can help with better sleep. If a person started today to live a balanced life in health, exercise, and sleep, 3 things might happen. 1, we might throw away the bag of peanut M&Ms that we have stashed. 2, we might get up off the couch and exercise. And 3, we'd come buy a new mattress here at My Mattress.
Prodigy Brewing has so much appreciation and gratitude for the warm embrace Cache Valley has given us. We want to invite you to join us for Sunday brunch from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Our Sunday-only brunch menu features sweet and savory options such as churro French toast, chilaquiles, fried chicken egg sandwich, and a Bloody Mary bar. You also won't want to miss our hash browns. Whether you're out with a family or friends, Prodigy Brewing is the place to be in Cache Valley. Open 7 days a week, located at 25 West Center Street in beautiful downtown Logan.
Alpine Home Medical has been around for over 25 years. Can you believe that? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent. What keeps us coming to work every day? We're passionate about caring for you. From home and bathroom safety to transportation, mobility, recovery, oxygen, sleep, and more, come into any of our 10 locations today and let us take care of you.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit us at alpinehomemedical.com.
This is The Herd.
The winner in this is also
Colin Cowherd.
Season's over for the Packers. The Titans play like Mike Vrabel looks. Then there's the Packers. Hipster quarterback, young, good-looking, cool coach. Zero tenacity, zero resilience. I'm not sure they trust each other. I mean, can you imagine Aaron Rodgers coming up to Mike Vrabel on the sideline?
This is The Herd.
Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan. The Aggies, Jazz, high schools, even the Pee Wee's T-ball team. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Last couple of minutes of the show. Feel free to text in on our Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321. And a couple of, we got another text here from 4781. We're talking about, Gobert. It says it's because Gobert was Embiid's daddy. But interesting to see some of these games that are on the schedule and how will fans react to Donovan Mitchell when he comes to town next week. And next Tuesday, Cleveland will be in Salt Lake City, the first game back for Donovan Mitchell since the trade. And you know what? Probably would have gone over swimmingly. Fans probably would have reacted positively, except for the fact that he had some choice things to say about his time in Utah before Utah's game in Cleveland. And was kind of negative about his experience in Utah, about some of the challenges that he faced and some of the treatment that he received. And I'm not trying to say that, I don't believe that he's inflaming some of those attitudes. I think those were true things that did happen to him. And I think that it's unfortunate. And the way some things happened while he was here. But I think that he still handled a lot of stuff pretty professionally. Could have handled it a lot differently. We've seen some others not handle those similar situations very well. And I thought that he handled the whole trade professionally and the offseason professionally. And I will choose to remember Donovan for the good things that he did while he was here in Utah. So I won't be at the game, unfortunately. Would love to be, but I will applaud him when he's announced over the PA when they call out the starting lineups. I'm not going to be cheering for every bucket that he makes, but it's worth applauding him for what he did and the things that he accomplished while as a Jazz player. But some fans. The fuse is a lot shorter, and the opportunity to extend grace and gratitude is shorter for others. And I understand that. I'm not trying to put anybody down if you have a different opinion. I don't love the things that he said about Utah and his time here at the end. But I will choose to celebrate his successes and what he brought to the Jazz franchise and where he took things for the franchise and the community. I thought he did a lot of great things for the community. But when it gets closer, it will be interesting if more things are said or how that gets interpreted and how he reacts and the type of game that he might have while he's here. 4781. Texting in. I think Don needs to grow up and realize that he's a pro athlete, that he is going to get hate no matter what city he is in. He needs to stop hating on Utah. I don't know that he's continuing to hate on Utah. I don't know if it was just that one. I don't know if I've seen a lot since that one interview that was conducted. But, it's when you become a top flight athlete, you're not you're not universally loved. You're going to be loved by some, hated by others. And some guys just have to understand that and accept that fact. Some really embrace it and really play those roles, but others, they have a hard time. They want to be universally loved by everybody, but it doesn't work that way. And that's just the way of sports. But, hey, recapping some of the big stories today here on the Full Court Press, J.C. Carroll, a university, announcing today that his jersey will be put in the rafters in the Spectrum. They're retiring his jersey, but not his number. So other Aggie players will be able to wear his number in the future. Also, earlier on the show, we had Mike Williams join us, the head trainer for Utah State. He was in the Spectrum when Danny Berger, basketball player for USU, had a cardiac event and collapsed, and shared his experiences with that in relation to what happened earlier this week. So really fascinating. That'll all be available on our podcast, 1069thefan.com.